Cyberpunk 2077 is a good game. At times it's even great, but overall it's a game that promised too much and delivered too little. So why is it worth playing? Well, for starters, we have to address the cyber elephant in the room, the bugs. Cyberpunk is literally the buggiest game I've ever played in my life. I pre-ordered the game for Xbox One and have been playing it since day one. And let me tell you, it was rough. The game would crash at least twice every time I played it. There was brutal lag while driving vehicles, which made me crash into literally everything. NPCs would glitch into existence looking like a polygonal nightmare. And some main story missions simply would not work, so I missed out on an entire main side plot on my first playthrough. Now, I'm typically very forgiving when it comes to bugs or glitches, as most of the time I find them pretty funny. I'm looking at you, Skyrim. But Cyberpunk was really getting on my nerves because they weren't just funny glitches. They were actively interfering with my ability to play the game as it was intended. So why play this buggy mess of a game? Well, here's an example. Despite all the enraging glitches and bugs that I was experiencing, I still played the game all the way through. Twice, actually. I put over 300 hours into this game so far, and I'm on my third playthrough as I'm recording this. Now you may say that just means that you, sir, are a sadist. But really the reason I kept playing is because despite all the issues, I was having an absolute blast with this game. One of the main reasons you should play Cyberpunk 2077 is the main story. I'll keep this light on spoilers in case you haven't tried it yet, but essentially you play as a character known as V. You are an up-and-coming mercenary looking to become a legend in crime-ridden Night City. You and your best friend Jackie accept a heist job that goes terribly wrong and leads to you having to implant a biochip into your brain. The problem is this biochip contains the consciousness of long-dead rocker boy terrorist Johnny Silverhand. You soon learn the biochip in your brain is slowly killing you, and so the race begins to find a way to safely remove the chip and untangle your consciousness from Johnny's. The main story of Cyberpunk is bold, well-written, and deals with classic science fiction themes such as artificial intelligence, consciousness, the effects of technology on civilization, and what it truly means to be human. The story captivated me in a way that only CD Projekt Red games can. That's not to say it doesn't have its issues, but I was able to look past them and really enjoy the story. Now, with that being said, I do think it's only fair that I discuss some of the issues that I do have with the story and the side quests as a whole. One is that for a game that marketed itself as having a world that changes depending on your choices, that claim doesn't really hold up. There are 5 different endings to this game, but the singular decision that leads to these different endings only comes about within the last couple hours of the game. What I was expecting from Cyberpunk was an RPG akin to Fallout New Vegas or The Witcher 3, where your choices throughout the game truly change the world around you. And to add insult to injury, that was the kind of game that Cyberpunk was marketed as. But unfortunately, it did not live up to the hype. Now, there are some great side missions where they can be completed in multiple ways. One that comes to mind is the side quest Sinner Man, where you choose to either assist a former criminal now turned religious zealot in his own crucifixion, or take a large sum of money to just forget the whole thing. It's unique quests like this where the game shines and lives up to the promise made by CD Projekt Red. I just wish that there were more of these kinds of quests in the game. When it comes to Cyberpunk's content, it's not an issue of what's in the game, it's an issue of what isn't in the game that should have been. Another reason to play Cyberpunk 2077 is the world that CD Projekt Red created. Now, the creation of the cyberpunk genre is largely credited to Ridley Scott's 1982 masterpiece Blade Runner, one of my favorite films of all time. The film depicts a futuristic and technologically advanced world where corporations control most of society and everyone who is wealthy has already left Earth in favor of off-world colonies. So, as you can tell, this was a huge inspiration for the game. From the music, the story, the Asian culture fused with Western culture, and right down to the aesthetics of Night City. But the biggest influence for the game was the 1988 tabletop role-playing game, Cyberpunk, created by Mike Pondsmith. In this game, the core tenets are style over substance, breaking the rules, attitude is everything, and always take it to the edge. Cyberpunk 2077 borrows these concepts, as well as character classes, the name of different megacorporations, and the infamous character Johnny Silverhand. Now, despite the heavy inspiration, the world still has a unique atmosphere to it, and feels completely different than any other game I've played. Night City is a character of its own that draws you in and invites you to explore every back alley and side street. There are so many open-world games being made these days, but many seem to have uninspired worlds that are far too large for their own good. It was so refreshing to play a game that, while it had and still has many issues, possessed such a rich and fully realized environment. When you walk through Night City, you're seeing flashing advertisements, street vendors, homeless people, police doing investigations. You can see the effort that the development team put into making this world come to life. There's even made-up Night City slang like choom, which means friend, and gonk, which means stupid. It's little things like this that add a flavor of originality to Cyberpunk that you just don't get from other games. So if you've watched the video this far, you might still be on the fence about playing Cyberpunk 2077, and I get it. Its reputation was tarnished with one of the worst releases in gaming history, and it's hard for people to just casually shake that off. And honestly, you might try Cyberpunk and absolutely hate it, and that's fine too. But I believe the game is worth playing in its entirety. It has a captivating story, good combat, a unique world, great characters, and above all, Cyberpunk 2077 is just plain fun. On top of that, the developers have continued to update the game since release, and with the arrival of patch 1.5, the game is better than ever. They have added more weapons, different apartments for purchase, in-game character customizations, more responsive AI, and so much more. Cyberpunk, even on last-gen consoles, is in a great place right now. So, in summary, those are some reasons why Cyberpunk 2077 is worth playing. I have far more respect for CD Projekt Red setting incredibly lofty goals and not being able to reach them than I do for studios like Ubisoft or EA, who simply make the same game every year. I would rather have 100 buggy Cyberpunks than one more cold, soulless Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed game. But that's just me. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought of Cyberpunk in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to see more videos like these. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you later.